Your first venture was something called France Internet
Yes.
Developments.
So in fact, I had a few other ventures before
Okay.
that. So my first venture was actually, I was the owner of a website
Okay.
called Mac Passion, which was the
Oh, wow.
one of the first websites in France for, I guess, Apple computers fans, I guess. Beginning when we arrived in the market in 2018, we went to see Salesforce and we said, look, don't ask us what clouds we're doing.
Okay.
What we're doing is manufacturing, construction, and property.
So you started the business with Amelia, your partner. Could you explain what it is and what are like how do you handle the fact of separating like business life and personal life, because it's something quite important.
Yeah,
I
yeah,
guess.
it's not meant for everyone. I'll tell you that. It's not made for everyone. Look, I think there's some basic things to understand. First, when you go into business, there are some skills that you just don't have.
Okay.
The first thing is, when you create a business, you need to fill those gaps.
Okay.
So you need to create a team that will cover enough.
Yeah.
Okay. And so Amelia was one of those people who could cover a lot of the marketing, the GTM, some of the alliance management as well, and all these sort of things. So it was great to have her on board on day one.
Yeah.
How do you split between personal life and the business life? It's not always easy.
Okay.
Right? And I'll give you some very simple examples, but the first thing is we try to have a rule not to talk about work at home, right?
Yeah.
It's not easy because, like every couple, when you come back from a day of work, very often you debrief. You want to, what did you do today? Anything that annoyed you, anything that was great, and this sort of thing. We do the same. Right? We do the same. But we're reminded by the kids very often that, hey, that's enough of that work.
Could you explain like the backstory of the name?
Yeah. So we were three founders for CARNAC. So you and myself and Amelia. And obviously, when you create a business, you have to find a name, right? And you can take two options. Either you find a name because it's available, and then you take it and whatever, or you actually try to create a bit of a story, right? Obviously, that's where Amelia's magic comes to life. And we wanted to really find something that could explain a little bit our roots, right? Because I'm from Brittany originally, so Carak being a town in Brittany, that was a good starting point.
Okay.
But the second thing that's interesting in that region is that there's lots of rocks, a bit like Stonehenge for people who know Stonehenge, but much smaller.
Yeah.
They're standing up and they form lines basically.
Okay.
You've got hundreds of rocks and they form lines.
Yeah.
And they've been there for thousands of years, right? And so we thought there's actually a really good story to that, right? First, there's a story of resilience.
Yeah.
They've been there for years. They're not moving. They're there. They're solid. It's the good foundations to some extent. We like the idea of the alignment, that we're all going there together, and that's alignment with our partners like Salesforce or SAP today.
Yeah.
It's alignment with our employees, with our clients as well. So there was all that story, and there's a bit of magic in it. There's a bit of unknown, a bit of mystery around it, which we all liked as well.
Yeah. Can you tell us what would be your vision to adopt this new technology? Do you think it's like a short term or long term? Where is it?
I think we're all learning. That's the reality. So my view is the way we deliver projects today, whether it's a CRM project or something like that, the way we deliver an AI project will be completely different.
Okay.
Requires a completely different mentality around the objective, the results, how you approach it, how you iterate.
Yeah.
So there's a real change of consulting, if you ask me. And my view is that projects around AI specifically will reduce in size and be a lot more nimble.
Yeah.
There will be an ongoing improvements, ongoing new process to cover and all this sort of thing. So I think it will create a new way of working for us that we're not necessarily ready for. Or it's not that we're not ready, but really we're not structured yet around those projects because there aren't enough of them yet.
Yeah.
And that's also the reality is we all talk about it.
Yeah.
That's great. We have some customers obviously doing a very good job at it and doing some very exciting projects. But out of our customer base, the customer base that invest in AI is only 5%.
Yeah.
So we've got 95% still of the customer base that is talking about I shouldn't say normal projects, but projects that are pure CRM, pure data, pure integration.
Yeah.
So we shouldn't forget that there's still a huge amount of demand somewhere else. Right? So yes, it's attractive. Yes, there's some very exciting technology coming to life, and I think some fantastic use case that we'll see coming over the next few months and years.
But yeah.
But let's also worry about the 95% that still need the basic things.
Yeah. Yeah, that makes sense. Hello everyone, today I'm with Vincent Motte. Vincent Motte, VP Australia at Viseo. So today we are lucky to have this conversation with him. I'm actually working for Viseo, so it's a great pleasure for me to be able to speak with you. For those who don't know you already, Vincent, could you introduce yourself?
Yeah, so I'm Vincent Motte. So I look after Viseo here in ANZ. I've been in the Salesforce ecosystem for quite a long time. In fact, on the client side before, and then on the entrepreneur side, and now on in a global business as well. I've got a French background, but I've been in Australia for now 20 years. And so all my working life has actually been here.
Wow. That's crazy because when I read about your LinkedIn profile, I saw that you were from the northwest of France, near the town called Nantes.
Yes.
And actually me too. So right. We are not, not that far. And I saw that you were that you started your journey with a Master of Engineering. Could you let us know how did you started to get interested in technology when you were younger?
Yes, I guess that was a long time ago. And where it started is probably my dad was managing a business. It was like a business that was actually selling boats.
Yeah.
And in the late 70s, he bought a computer to manage the accounting, which was one of those, big floppy disks and all these sort of things.
Yeah.
And I think from the early age, I've always been quite interested to understand how those machines actually do work. And then a bit later on, he bought a Mac. I think that was probably in the 80s somewhere or early 90s, and got really interested into how they work and all these sort of things. So I think from the early 90s, I think I was 14 years old or something like that. And I think in 94, I got the first modem. So I went on the internet and started to understand how those things work. So I think it just started like this with a bit of a passion for machineries and how things works and electronics and all that. It's probably just how it started, to be honest. Then you sort of undo things and disassemble things, and then you don't quite understand how you assemble it back, but doesn't matter. So I think that's how it started. Really.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Like a lot by curiosity at the end.
Yeah. Pure curiosity of understanding those things.
Yeah.
I remember in primary schools, I had a few friends who had, maybe a Commodore, an Amiga, or whatever it was. And we were just talking about those things and how to program those machines. So it just started with curiosity. Absolutely.
Wow. And your first venture was something called France Internet Development.
Yes. Yeah.
So it was a lot related to tourism. I've read.
So in fact, I had a few other ventures before that. So my first venture was actually, I was the owner of a website called Mac Passion, which was one of the first websites in France for, I guess, Apple computers fans, I guess.
And you don't use a MacBook anymore?
No, not even. And we were just translating like press releases that were coming from California to French. We were testing computers. So we were receiving computers from Apple and devices and testing them. And we just had a website. And then, so that website we got a lot of sponsors paying us a little bit for the website. So just enough to get a bit of pocket money at the time. I was probably just 16 when I did that. And then the first venture, which was France Internet Development, which was website hosting, gaming hosting, a bit of website development as well. I started that venture when I turned 18. So in France, you can be a director of a company when you turn 18.
Yeah.
And as soon as I turned 18, I wanted to try something.
Yeah.
And so I did that.
Wow.
And kept that business for, I think, 4 years.
Yeah.
And it's essentially paid for not my study, but at least the leisure time around my study. So I was making just enough money to spend.
Wow.
Pretty much. That's it. Yeah.
And so what kind of so it was hosting, was it something like OVH?
Yes. So in fact I used to use the OVH data centers and infrastructure and was reselling for specific purposes, whether it was websites or gaming servers or this type of things.
Wow.
So did that for a number of years, and then I closed the business in 2000 and I think 3 or 2. And all it took was, you need a lot of money to grow those businesses. And I didn't have the money. And then all you needed is a few customers not paying, especially like larger servers and stuff like that. And then that was it. So we just sold the clients at the end. But I learned heaps. I was only 18. So you learn a lot for, 3 or 4 years, what it means to be a company director, you make a lot of mistakes, which are really the foundation of what you do later anyway. So for me, financially, they were not great ventures, but from a learning perspective, they were absolutely amazing.
Wow. And so after that, you worked as a project manager directly?
So then I moved to Australia. So because I was still studying at the time when I had my company in France, I was still studying full time as well. So then I moved to Australia and then I started in the SAP ecosystem. I started as a project manager, functional consultant, a bit of everything, to be honest, for a number of years. Consulting typically mid-sized companies. So, any companies that between 50 to 500 people or something like that. And for me, that was a really important part of my career, because when you work in the ERP space, you learn about finance, you learn about supply chain, you learn about HR processes, servicing, manufacturing, purchasing, all that. And to me, that gave me, for the 3 years where I've done that, it gave me really the base to understand how does a business actually work from end to end. And it was really, really important because, today there aren't that many people who actually understand what does it mean to talk about, an accounting system or, how does accounting talk to supply chain and this type of thing. So for me, I got that early in my career.
And how, a good question I think that I have is, do you feel like this is more related to ERP system to understand a business, or CRM, like Salesforce/CRM can give you this understanding as well? Like, what are the difference between?
Look, the way explaining in a simple way, if you've got your CRM and Salesforce and all that, that's the front of your house. That's what your customers may see. That's what your customer service use, your sales, etc. Is very much front of your business. The ERP is what powers the back end. That's the reality. That's your finance. If you're a manufacturing business, your ERP is what makes your manufacturing work or not work. That's what powers your logistics. That's what powers your purchasing and all this sort of things. So it's the back of the house. So the way you need to think about it is they're not competing systems at all. One of them is front of house. One of them is back of house. If you've got both, that's when it becomes interesting.
Wow. And I guess like one of the great thing is that you have exposure to both of them. So so that must be very interesting to have the end-to-end knowledge of the processes.
I think it allows you to some extent to guide a little bit the discussion, because if you think sometimes and you might have an ERP system that wants to do everything, that wants to do the CRM, or you might have a Salesforce that wants to do everything that an ERP does. And the reality, well, it doesn't. So you need to make sure that you understand. It's more enterprise architecture, really, right? What will fit into this system, what will fit into this system, and how do you make sure that it's cohesive overall? So I think if you've got an ERP background and then you moved into the Salesforce ecosystem, I think it allows you to really understand that world really well. And especially with the more complex products like, the revenue clouds, for example, or order management and all these sort of things. Well, all those things have an impact to your ERP because that's the financial systems. So understanding the interaction is really good.
That must be very interesting. And do you feel like, because today, from what I've heard, you still have like a point of touch with SAP in a way. Do you feel like the product, because I guess it's a family of product like Salesforce, do you feel like everything changed 20 years later, or is there still a lot of common knowledge?
No, I mean, there are still some basic things that any company needs to do, right? So the way I look at it is, if you're a manufacturing business, you still need to make, you still need to stock, you still need to dispatch, right? There aren't millions of ways of doing that. So the core maybe hasn't changed. But like every technology business, it's like Salesforce, right? It's more than just a CRM. But over the past, 5 years and 10 years, they had to reinvent completely themselves around other AI tools, around data, big data. That wasn't really an issue 15 years ago, 20 years ago. So they had to reinvent themselves. So yes, the SAP of now versus what it was 20 years ago is vastly different. Same with Salesforce. I started Salesforce in 2011, I can tell you Salesforce was super damn easy to implement.
Yeah, that must be totally different now.
It was pretty simple. You could become a consultant relatively easily.
Yeah.
The architecture was, relatively simple. The way you look at it today is it's a complex ecosystem.
Yeah.
So yes, everything has evolved for sure.
Yeah, that makes sense. And from your point of view, when did you transition from being like a consultant or someone that implements solution to a project manager in your career?
So that hasn't quite worked that way for me. The way it has worked is I've started as a project manager. And then I moved to the end user. So I moved to a client essentially. I moved to BlueScope where I used to be one of the consultants. Then I moved there and stayed in that business for 10 years.
Wow.
And in that business, I've done quite a lot of things. Never really PM. But I've worked across sales. I've worked across IT, marketing, finance, like operation as well in manufacturing. So it was a great opportunity for me because I left the world of consulting and really was sort of working in business improvements, using technology as a lever to gain, I guess, effectiveness internally and across a lot of different departments. And that company specifically was also, I think, one of the best places when you learn culture, when you want to understand innovation, for example. It was an absolutely brilliant place.
What do they do, BlueScope?
Steel manufacturing. So it's a big steel manufacturer. They make big beams and coil and fences and roofs and all this sort of things.
Like Australian?
Yes. Yeah, absolutely. So that's the brand of Collarbond.
Wow.
And for me, that was a real change because I moved from department to department, had a number of different managers, touched a lot of different technology, but on the customer side. So I've worked with a lot of consulting firms during that time. And that's when I touched in 2010 or 2011, that's when I touched Salesforce for the first time.
And what do you feel like what was, like looking back at it, what was the most exciting experience that you had within BlueScope? As you have tried a lot of different functions, what was the one that fits the most with you?
I don't know if there was just one. I think, to be honest, I think the way I look at it is more as a whole. Like you'd think, 10 years in a company, that feels like a long, long time. But I mean, to me, what I take out of it is, well, every 2 years I was changing role. Every 2 years I had a different other set of technology or people to work with or a new challenge. So I think it's more the whole, like it's not, that specific project was great or that one was amazing. I think a lot of them were good. There may be one project that was probably a great moment, I guess, in my career because I was fairly early days. I was probably back in 2008 and 9. And we had a big project where we were buying a number of businesses across the country. And I was there to roll out ERPs and integrating systems and all these sort of things in those businesses. So I've managed to travel pretty much everywhere in Australia, to the Pacific Islands as well, in New Caledonia, Fiji, Vanuatu, and all that for a number of years. And for me, that was really good because even though I was, French background and all that, I felt like I was really traveling everywhere and really exciting. Learning to work with different states, different culture and all that. So probably one of those good moments.
And did you feel acquisition of new organization and working on the process to integrate them like the right way into like the mothership, BlueScope? Could you explain what are the key learning that you have reused when CARNAC got acquired by Viseo?
The first thing I would say, when a large company buys a small business, or any business to some extent, there will always be some differences of point of views of how you want to manage, point of views of how you run a business, what people should be doing, technology as well. One business is using this technology stack and the other one is using another technology stack. And there's always a little bit of friction, at the beginning, because everyone wants to sort of protect what they've done and this sort of thing. So I think there's always that period of time where you need to be humble enough with a level of empathy as well. And not just go and smash it, right? It's just not going to work. You need to take people on a journey. And that journey can take sometimes as short as 6 months. And sometimes that's a journey that can take 2-3 years, right? So it's making sure that everyone understands that it is a journey that the objective needs to be clear for everyone. Right? What is the objective? Well, the objective is to integrate the businesses together. Or it is, no, we want to make sure that we leave you as a ring-fenced business and you run independently. Those objectives have to be very clear. Make sure everyone's on the journey. The second thing is, I think there's always a realization that when there is a merge of businesses, not everyone will be on the journey and not everyone should be on the journey, right? It is a transition, right? So you're going to have some people who don't recognize themselves in that new entity. That's okay, right? It's totally fine. And you're going to have some people who will thrive in the new entity, okay? And I think when there is an acquisition like this one, there need to be a little bit of an understanding of that. Not everyone will be happy, and that's okay. That's totally fine.
Wow, that's impressive. And do you feel by using like the software such as like Salesforce and SAP, you as an organization, you facilitate yourself for a future acquisition?
Look, I'd like to say yes, right? I think the reality is, if you want, I think your business, let's say you build a business and you want your business to be acquired. It's not so much about which system you use. I'd like to tell you, if you use Salesforce, it's great, fantastic. But the reality is, it doesn't matter what system you use. It's more, is your house in order? What I mean by that is your financial clean? Is your growth clear? Is your strategy clear? Is your vision clear? Your leadership team clear? All these sort of things. So I think, yes, of course, having the right systems will facilitate that, right? Because you can be very transparent. You can show a level of efficiency. But at the end, that's not what they look at, because the company buying you, they've got their own systems. And really what they're going to do is they're going to take their own systems and put it. Most likely, unless you're much bigger and, there's a really great use case. I think 95% of the time it will be the other way around.
Right? That makes sense. And so at BlueScope, there is Johan Berrier that you
it started even before.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So Johan, for everyone who don't know, Johan was the co-founder of CARNAC as well, one of the co-founder. So Johan started actually to work with me when I was a project manager in the SAP space.
Wow, I didn't
He did
know.
the same engineering school as me in France. And when I arrived in Australia, I think 2 years down the track, I said, maybe we should take a few more interns.
Wow.
Well, what about you leave that to me? And so I brought Johan across from France, who was looking for an internship as well, and brought him in. Same as an SAP consultant to start with, more on the technical side, because he's more of a technical person. But brought him in there in that SAP partner. And then I moved to BlueScope, and I got him a job at BlueScope because I needed someone a bit like him. And then one day we said, well, why don't we create a venture? Because you're very technical. I'm probably a bit more commercial. I understand technical as well, but I'm more probably commercial. So we thought, we combine some of the skills that could work.
Something that I've been very impressed actually is that I saw you did like the Service Cloud certification recently. And there is only a few practice founders that still do certification. I think it's something really rare, but it's at the end of the day, I think it's really worth it to continue learning.
Look, I think for me, what you never forget is your background, right? My background is a technology background. I've never been a salesperson as such. I've always been interested in technology. So that's always what still drags me back. Well, not drag me back, but that's always what attracts me, right? Is still the technology that we sell and how we apply it to customers. My view is that you can only sell technology well if you know what you're talking about. That's as simple as that. Yes, you can open doors without knowing what you're talking about, all these sort of things. But at the end of the day, when you're here to have a proper discussion with the client about how we're going to do something, how it's going to work, you need to know what you're talking about. So for me, just passing a certification probably has two messages. One for me, which is, hey, I can still do it if I study, right? So I don't lose touch of the product. But the second one is, if I can do it, then anyone can, right? Realistically, anyone can do it. So it's also a bit of a, our employees are expected to do at least 2 or 3 certifications every year. Well, I have to try to do my bit as well.
It's a bit like, and I'm not sure if it's a good comparison, but Elon Musk that sleep in the factory.
Yeah, I don't think. I'm not sure. I guess it's in that case, it's trying to show also that well, I'm not just asking people to do it, but I can also do it myself. It doesn't mean I'm going to do 2 or 3 every year, quite frankly. But it's all it's trying to show that we can do it. Right?
Yeah, that's impressive. So you know Johan for like 20 years
since
more.
2007, I think.
Wow.
That's when I met with him the first time.
So
so 18
a while
years
ago. Wow.
Yeah, 18 years.
And so you decided to create CARNAC, and I think an interesting thing, and I saw that because I saw the magnet on the fridge. I think it's the beach of CARNAC.
Yes.
Could you explain like the Salesforce practice that you created with Johan is named CARNAC, and could you explain like the backstory of the name?
Yeah. So we were three founders for CARNAC. So Johan, myself, and Amelia, and obviously when you create a business, you have to find a name, right? And you can take 2 options. Either you find a name because it's available and then you take it and whatever, or you actually try to create a bit of a story, right? Obviously that's where Amelia's magic comes to life. And we wanted to really find something that could explain a little bit our roots, right? Because I'm from Brittany originally. So CARNAC being a town in Brittany, that was a good starting point.
Okay.
But the second thing that's interesting in that region is that there's lots of rocks, a bit like Stonehenge for people who know Stonehenge, but much smaller.
Yeah.
They're standing up and they form lines basically. Like you've got hundreds of rocks and they form lines.
Yeah.
And they've been there for thousands of years, right? And so we thought there's actually a really good story to that, right? First, there's a story of resilience.
Yeah.
You know, they've been there for years. They're not moving. You know, they're there. They're solid. It's the good foundations to some extent. We like the idea of the alignment that we're all going there together, and that's alignment with our partners like Salesforce or SAP today.
Yeah.
It's alignment with our employees, but with our clients as well. So there was all that story, and there's a bit of magic in it. You know, there's a bit of unknown, a bit of mystery around it, which we all liked as well.
Yeah.
So that's the story.
That's actually a good idea, and I agree that it's so much more powerful when there is like the storytelling part of it. So it was interesting. You created, which year did you created?
So 2008, early 2008. Yeah.
And so
2018. Sorry, when I'm talking about 2018.
Yep. Yeah. And I remember like last time I was because I just moved house a few weeks ago, and I was checking my card and I retrieved like the card of Johan, like the CARNAC card.
An old one.
So yeah, and so I would be interested, like, what was the journey with CARNAC, the first customer, like the first project? Was it hard to get started as a partner, or what was the process?
So I think what you need to probably put in context is, so that was now 7 years ago, right?
Okay.
And the market 7 years ago was a bit different.
Yep.
First, the Salesforce ecosystem overall was probably a bit simpler.
Okay.
In terms of the solutions and all these sort of things. You didn't need to have 50 consultants to put a solution together, or even 10.
Yeah.
You could do something a bit more nimble. Where it started really is when I was at BlueScope. I used to work with consulting, so Salesforce partners.
Yep.
I brought Salesforce partners to work with me, and we did a number of projects at BlueScope.
Yeah.
Most of the projects were delivered fine, no problem.
Yeah.
But there was one thing in common with all those partners, is that none of them actually understood industries really well.
Okay.
So they were all coming there from a technical background.
Yeah.
Knowing the solution really well, no problem. But you really had to feed, here's what we want to do.
Okay, yeah.
Here's what I would like.
Yeah.
You know, so what I found is that the Salesforce partners at the time were really order takers.
Okay.
And so when I was on that side, I always said, if one day I create a technology company, I want to be industry-led.
Okay, yeah.
Right? Not technology-led, industry-led.
Yeah.
And so when we created CARNAC Group, we basically said, okay, well, what are the industries that we know really well?
Yeah.
And there were 3 that we knew really well. That was construction, property, and manufacturing.
How did you know?
Because the BlueScope ecosystem was a lot around construction and manufacturing.
Okay.
They were servicing a lot of home builders. So I had a lot of opportunities to talk and spend time in this industry.
Yeah.
And then I brought a lot of people in at the time that were experts in, or coming from a property background as well. So we built that sort of mini practice there.
Yeah.
I was sort of owning the manufacturing, and then we had another person owning more the construction, essentially.
Okay.
And what we said at the beginning when we arrived in the market in 2018, we went to see Salesforce and we said, look, don't ask us what clouds we're doing.
Okay.
What we're doing is manufacturing, construction, and property.
That's interesting.
Right? And so we created very quickly a message that, hey, those guys are the experts in those industries. So if the client is in this, if the client is in this industry, then you should go and talk to CARNAC.
Yeah.
And so that came very quickly, essentially, that, all of a sudden we had customers coming in, and we had a few a few customers that were there from day one as well. By pure luck, a few customers reaching out on the website saying, I'm looking for a Salesforce partner. I don't really like the one I've talked to or that, whatever. And so we had a few customers that started the business, maybe 4 or 5. But at the beginning we were 4. So, that was enough for us to start.
Well, that's interesting because I feel it's not common actually to be industry led, like to choose a niche.
It changed very quickly after because when we started that, we were one of the first partners to be very industry led. There was probably 1 or 2 that were also either, very strong in manufacturing, but really before 2018, every partner was doing a bit of everything. Because there was a lack of, probably not enough partners in the market. So whatever was coming in, that's what they were doing. And so in 2018, when we started to do that's where we saw a real change in the Salesforce ecosystem, where Salesforce moved towards an industry-led partner ecosystem, essentially, which today that's how it works, right? Every partner is known for specific industries, less for products, a little bit for products, but more for the industries. And for us, that really worked, extremely well.
And I think as a customer, it must be very refreshing to speak with someone that understands not only the product, but like the industry.
I think you have to be humble enough, right? It's not that you understand everything. Like you have to be able to go to a customer and say, look, you understand your business better than we do, right? The value that we have is that we've got lots of customers in this industry. We see what doesn't work and we see what works. Right? So you bring that on the table. You're not saying we're better than you. You're saying we're going to bring that on the table. Yes, I think it is good for customers to have technology partners who understand their business. I think it creates a lot of trust. And they can also talk to the other customers who've done it before and it's not new. So they feel like maybe they're not taking so much risks because it's been proven before. So I think it minimizes the disruption for them and it creates a bit more trust.
Do you think because Salesforce have something like automotive cloud, why do you think I'm not sure if they have but do they have a product like a construction cloud or do you think they should?
Look, I'm not going to tell them what they should be doing, but overall, the way I would approach it is where there is money, that's where you invest in R&D to develop a product. Right? There are some industries that are still niche, right? You look at construction, even property to some extent, they are reasonably niche industries. And it works quite differently in every country, right? If you do real estate, for example, in Australia, if you're a real estate agent in Australia versus in Asia versus it's completely different. So maybe one day they will invest in those industries. I think at the moment, they've got already automotive, manufacturing, they've got health, they've got all non-for-profit. I think they're big buckets. Even though construction is a big industry, but the reason why it's big is because there's a lot of heavy material and concrete and steel that cost a lot of money. So the GDP of construction is really big. I don't necessarily think that Salesforce will ever be the best platform for construction. They have some players who do, really good job in that space. But it's still the best in the CRM space for those industries for sure.
And I spoke with Ivan, that is head of advisory at Viseo, and he say basically Viseo develop a sort of a template that can be not reused, but that is inspired and
it's accelerate. So we've done that on day one because the reality is when a prospect talks to you and says, okay, you're the best at property, let's say, the first question they're going to ask you is, well, can I see it then? Can I see what I'm going to get? Right. And you need to be able to show them what they're going to get, or at least a bit of a, a version, right? A demo or something like that. So we build over the years a number of what we call accelerators, which is essentially putting our ideas, our IP, our learnings, and all these sort of things into a box. So when a customer says, "Can I see what it looks like?" Because I'm a home builder, we can say, "Well, this is what it may look like, right? You might be slightly different here. You might sell that product differently. That's okay. But here's roughly what it's going to look like." So we've done that for construction. We've done that for property. We've now done it with AI as well around real estate. So there's a few areas that we continue to invest in to show expertise.
I think it's very important, as you mentioned, like to be able to showcase like a demo or something that that can inspire the customer. And so you grew this practice to up to 30 people. What was the main challenge in not challenge but like the main could you explain the journey of growing practice?
So I mean we were lucky in the early days because we had a few customers that really invested in us as well. Like I don't mean giving us money, but they really trusted us. And ask us to deliver, bigger projects and all this sort of thing. So I think from mid 2018, we started to have some, projects that were a bit longer, 3 months, 4 months projects, and taking 1 or 2 people and this sort of thing. So in 2018, probably at the end of 2018, we started to recruit more people. And then it was a bit of a snowball effect, to be honest, because there were not that many partners at the time. So there were still enough demand for partners to grow reasonably quickly. Then Salesforce started to trust our work. So that means you get a bit of leads from them, and they want to involve you in some projects and this type of things. So it was a bit, the first year or two was really snowball effect. Then you recruit a person in sales, and then you invest in better capability in your consulting. And then we started to spend more in marketing as well. So, to invest in better events and be a bit more visible. We've invested in our brand. So you sort of use a few buckets and then you throw a little bit of money in every bucket and you try to grow that way, right? So that worked quite well.
Is it a challenge to find like a talented Salesforce consultant?
So I guess there was a few different waves. So up to 2020 was fun actually, and our choice was pretty much to take people who were not necessarily from a Salesforce background, could be from a different background but had industry knowledge, and then to train them on Salesforce, because Salesforce was still very much Sales Cloud, Service Cloud, maybe Experience Cloud, maybe a bit of marketing, but it was still very much
CRM.
Four things, very much in that CRM world. So it was okay. Then during COVID, it was obviously a lot harder because it was the demand absolutely exploded, and people started to move from one partner to another one to get a little bit more money, which is fine. So it was harder to get good talent. But saying that, I never feel in the journey of CARNAC that we were missing talents. We always had people who were on the journey. And then, when we started to do really well in 2020, 2021, we could afford better consultants, or not better, but, different type of consultants with more seniority that would bring different knowledge and all this sort of things. So that wasn't necessarily the biggest challenge. I think for me personally, the biggest challenge was actually to move through the steps of growth. So, I always say there's a few milestones in a business. The first milestone is you're starting. That's a big milestone to just say, okay, I'm starting and I don't have a salary and I'd better move my ass to get it done, right? It's a big step. Then there's the milestone of structuring your business up to 10 people. It's not big 10 people, really. It's you'd think it's pretty easy, but that's when you need to start having enough projects coming in.
Like P&L, is it?
Well, it's making sure you've got enough people enough projects that you sell, enough people to deliver, right? So that's when you start managing a little bit the offer, the demand, and this type of things. And then you've got that next phase of growth, which is going up to 20 people. And then when you've got 20 people, this is when you start having people that you don't touch base with every day anymore. Maybe you start opening an office in Brisbane, and then you try to open in Melbourne to cover all those areas. And then all of a sudden it's becoming a little bit more complex to manage, and you need to structure yourself differently. And as a leader of a business like this one, you also need to start thinking about not being on the tools as much, right? And that's a big change because when you come from technology, the basic thing that you want to do is do it yourself, right? Is, I can do it and these type of things. But you have to remove yourself and start looking at the growth, looking at the commercial aspects and structuring the finance, structuring the delivery model, bringing people that will do that for you, etc. But you're not on the tools anymore. So that's a big change.
That must be also in some way frustrating sometimes, because
it is
mostly if you feel like you have the knowledge to do it, sometimes you must feel, I just want to jump on it. And
sometimes you think you know better. That's the thing. Or you might say, I would have done it differently, or I don't think that's good enough, or I think you went too far with this one. But it's the reality. You can't be everywhere. And if you're never happy, to me, it's the thing, like it can't be perfect, right? So settle for good. That's fine, right? And you need to be okay with it. And if you always reach for perfect, you're going to go absolutely mad.
And I feel like Salesforce, actually, when you speak about growth of a practice, Salesforce is doing quite well by supporting like the partner with the different status from like base, Crest, Summit. I think it's a great way to gamify like the growth of the practice. What's your view on that?
No, look, it is like even internally. I mean, it used to be, the silver, and then you wear gold and then platinum. But every time we reach one of those milestones, it was good. It was a big event to celebrate. It was, it's a badge of honor, right? It's a bit of a recognition. So no, it has been absolutely important. It allows you to sort of push your team to get more certifications, because hey, if we get to the 300 certifications, we're going to be this. So I think it works really well. But it's not what makes you, it doesn't bring business really as such. Well, it doesn't bring value at the end.
I understand.
It's just a bit of a little badge that makes you feel good about it. Something to celebrate with your team, definitely. And I think, look, it does show the level of maturity of your business, right? If you're a summit partner, it shows that you've got enough people, that you've got, you've delivered projects, that you know what you're talking about and all these sort of things. So if you're a large business and you want to invest in your Salesforce ecosystem, the likelihood is you probably want to get more this type of partner than a brand new partner that's got 3 people and haven't delivered a big project, right?
That makes sense. And so you started the business with Amelia, your partner. Could you explain what it is and what are like, how do you handle the fact of separating like business life and personal life, because it's something quite important. I guess.
It's not made for everyone. I'll tell you that. It's not made for everyone. Look, I think there's some basic things to understand. First, when you go into business, there are some skills that you just don't have. Right? For me, I'm reasonably technical. I'm reasonably commercial. But there are lots of angles around go-to-market strategy that I don't know, or it's not yet my passion, or these kind of things. I'm not a marketer. So there were gaps, right? Same with Johan. Johan was more of a technical architect. There are things that he does that I don't understand, and I'm okay with it. So the first thing is, when you create a business, you need to fill those gaps. Right? So you need to create a team that will cover enough. Okay. So Amelia was one of those people who could cover a lot of the marketing, the GTM, some of the alliance management as well, and all these sort of things. So it was great to have her on board on day one. How do you split between personal life and the business life? It's not always easy. Right? And I'll give you some very simple examples, but the first thing is we try to have a rule not to talk about work at home, right? It's not easy because, like every couple, when you come back from a day of work, very often you debrief, right? You want to, what did you do today? Anything that annoyed you, anything that was great, and these sort of things. We do the same, right? We do the same. But we're reminded by the kids very often that, hey, that's enough about work now. Now it's about the family. So they're here also to put the boundaries. It's not easy. And you just have to set some ground rules pretty quickly. And then it works well. I can tell you, it's not for everyone. Some people will absolutely not be able to work with their partner. That's totally fine. For us, it worked well. In fact, we enjoy working together. So that's great. But if it didn't work, then we'd do something else.
Well, that's a good thing. So what you mean is being complementary is very important by having different
It's critical.
skills.
If you do the same thing, then it's not going to work, right?
Okay.
So you need to be able to respect what each person is bringing to the table. For me, I bring the risk management. Like I take risks. I don't care about taking risks. I take disciplines in finance, accounting, and all these sort of things. I'm pretty good with that. I bring the tech. She brings creativity, ideas, challenging as well. So I think you could think about it differently, or you could approach it that way. And sometimes you need to understand who's my sounding board. Some people will have a sounding board that's maybe a board meeting. Maybe that's your network. Well, for me, that's Amelia.
Wow, that's interesting. And I guess as you mentioned, it must work pretty well because as of today, it's working.
We're still together. It does work. And I think the day it doesn't work, we'll know.
Okay.
And it will be clear, look, it doesn't work. We should stop working together. That's totally fine. But for now, that's always been good.
And also I've so you have children, two, and sometimes so they will come in the office after the school, and I feel it must be a great inspiration for them in the future. They must be very proud of both of you to build a business like this, and I feel it's very inspiring for their future to see what they can be able to build.
I think for them it's still hard to understand what it looks like to do business, because they think it's free kombucha in the fridge and then you've got a television where you can watch something, or or a gaming console at the office and Legos and stuff like that, because we've made a bit of a kids corner there in the office. But I think the entrepreneur's life that we've had so far has always been part of their journey as well. So they know that hey, we build businesses and we took risks, and when you've got a business, it's not a secret. So kids can come, it's fine, and our employees know them, and that's all good. I hope it's inspiring. But it doesn't mean I'm going to push them to do the same. It's they've got their own journey to follow as well.
So that's interesting. What you mean is so you appreciate the fact that it's inspiring for them, but it's not an obligation for them to become entrepreneurs or to start a business.
Look, I've been quite lucky because in my family, so not just my family in Australia, but my overall family back in France as well, has a long history of entrepreneurship. Like a long history. And there's always been that mentality, I guess, of give it a go. Right? Always. And I know my first business, I got an investment from my grandfather who got some money from his brother, who did pretty well, I think, back in France. And so the money was flowing. I was just 18, but they said, here's some money for your first seed funding and give it a go, basically. So to me, that's probably more what I want to bring to my kids in the future is, if you want to do something, I will help. Right? So if you want to create a business and you need a little help at the beginning, I will help you. But if you ask me for money to buy your first car, maybe not. I won't be there. Okay. So find a better way of doing it, basically. And for me, that's what really, like my first business in France was actually, when I did France Internet Development, I was selling domain names right at the beginning. But that was enough for me to put a little bit of money aside to buy my first car. And then a little bit of money aside for me to travel a little bit and do these sort of things. So for me, that's more what I want is, if you want those things, well, you need to find a way of doing it. Either you go and work somewhere, that's all good, or you can create a business as well and have an idea. And then I'll help you.
Wow. That's interesting. And another question that I find interesting is when you it's about urgency. I kind of feel urgency push you to do great things sometimes. And if you had this when you started CARNAC, how do you keep having this moment? What drives you today to keep doing great things?
It's probably not the urgency. I think there's a few things. When you're creating your own business, it's not the money that drives you. I can tell you that because you don't get that much money at the beginning. That's the reality. You pay yourself pretty not great and all these sort of things. But for me, that's what's been driving me is to always be in control.
Okay.
Like, Amelia will tell you that, but yes, I like being in control of what's happening. I like being in control of the future and all these sort of things. So for me, creating a business was more about, you know what, I've got the environment that I'm creating and I'm responsible for that environment. And I'm also responsible for what I create as a culture, for the people I employ, for the customers we service. So for example, I've always said, we'll never service customers that don't belong into my values, for example. So you can do that in any other organizations where you can't because it's not your job. So that's was probably the first driver. The second part is, personally, I always need change regularly. So I like doing one thing and then after a while, okay, that's good. I've done that. Now what's the next thing that I could do that's different? So for me, that was a big change because I've done 10 years of career before, moved from department to department, which gave me that ability to learn something new, but I really wanted a big change. So that was what was driving me was, this is a massive change. I have to make it successful one way or another because I need to live and still need to eat and pay a mortgage and all these sort of things. And I want to make it fun. So that was it. That was what driving me. The growth wasn't necessarily the driver. It happened. That's great because I think we attracted people and good customers and all these sort of things, but it wasn't necessarily the main reason. Or the urgency.
And so after that, there is the acquisition of CARNAC by Viseo. What year was it?
2023.
2023.
So 2 years ago, 2.5 years ago.
So we spoke about how to adopt change with the processes and the acquisition. How did your vision of Salesforce of building the practice and your role evolve when CARNAC got acquired by Viseo?
Look, there's always, so the first thing is when we got acquired was a different time to now. Right? Just from a market perspective, 2022, 2023, the market was still very much booming. There was a lot of investment going into the overall Salesforce ecosystem. So it was a growth path. So we got acquired in this environment. And in 2023, the environment started to change. So some customers started to stop the investments. We could see a bit of a change in the market. A lot of them went through big transformations in 2020 to 2023 because of COVID and all that. And then slowly the investments were drying up. So for us, we were arriving in an environment where there was less growth and merging two businesses when there was less growth. To some extent, it was a great opportunity because, if you consolidate, you can become a little bit more efficient. You can right-size the business as well. So we arrived in this environment. We also arrived in an environment where very quickly we were left as the management team essentially locally. So there were people in place before, they left. There was quite a bit of movement, but essentially we arrived in a business where, we sort of took the key to some extent. And worked out what we could do from there with the foundations that we had of that existing business of Viseo and the foundation of CARNAC. So the first 6 months was all that big changes. And then we spent an additional maybe 3 months merging systems and doing all these sort of things. So there is always a lot of distractions. That's the reality. When there's an acquisition of a business, there is distraction. But I think we managed that really well in a few ways. So one is the system was done and, that was painful. Of course, it was painful, but that was done. And then, more importantly, I think from a market reputation, we spent a lot of time building the Viseo brand with Salesforce, specifically at the beginning, to make sure that they understood who we were and that the DNA really hasn't changed a lot to start with. And I think that really is. If you look and talk even to people at Salesforce, they will tell you it is a good example of a good acquisition that worked well. A lot of them don't.
Because as you mentioned, it's all about people at the end of the day. And today, when we see the team at Viseo Australia, it's people that are very together.
It's very consistent. It's a very consistent team. I mean, there hasn't been much movement, to be honest. I think probably maybe because the market is a bit different as well. There's no question. But we've got a pretty bonded team overall. People, we've got a number of projects that are quite exciting. So I think it works well.
Yeah.
But it's also a team that's been going through, sometimes they came from the Viseo background or they came from a CARNAC background, merged together, learn how to work together.
Yeah.
So I think that worked pretty well.
Yeah.
But we would not have done it with the people we've got. We've got a number of very senior people who know what they're doing. And made it work as well. It's not me.
I think that's very interesting. And as like I'm working for Viseo, I have like I view it every day basically. So I think it's something that is quite interesting to see.
Yeah, I'm sure.
From a different point of view. And for the future. So we spoke about a lot about Agentforce. And you mentioned that you invest in like R&D in a way with like the accelerator. Can you tell us what will be your vision to adopt this new technology? Do you think it's like a short term or long term? Where is it?
I think we're all learning. That's the reality. So I was just in Canberra last week. And I was talking to one of our customers saying, yes, we've done this AI project with you and you're very happy. That's great. But we were only really 6 months ahead of you guys, essentially. So I think it's quite hard to know where we're going with all those technologies.
Yeah.
My view is the way we deliver projects today, whether it's, a CRM project or something like that, and the way we deliver an AI project will be completely different. Requires a completely different mentality around the objective, the results, how you approach it, how you iterate. So there's a real change of consulting, if you ask me. And my view is that projects around AI specifically will reduce in size. They'll be a lot more nimble. But there will be an ongoing improvement, ongoing new process to cover and all this sort of thing. So I think it will create a new way of working for us that we're not necessarily ready for. Or it's not that we're not ready, but really we're not structured yet around those projects because there aren't enough of them yet. And that's also the reality is we all talk about it. That's great. We have some customers obviously doing a very good job at it and doing some very exciting projects. But out of our customer base, the customer base that invest in AI is only 5%. So we've got 95% still of the customer base that is talking about well, I shouldn't say normal projects, but projects that are pure CRM, pure data, pure integration. So we shouldn't forget that there's still a huge amount of demand somewhere else. Right? So yes, it's attractive. Yes, there's some very exciting technology coming to life, and I think some fantastic use case that we'll see coming over the next few months and years. But let's also worry about the 95% that still need the basic things. Yeah,
that makes sense. And I think to finalize, what could you wish you for like the 5 next year of your career?
Look, I think the first thing is this year we've embarked on quite an exciting challenge because we've opened a new practice with SAP actually. For me, that's quite exciting because it's almost like a new toy, right? Well, we can try something new, and we can service our customers end to end a lot more. That's what Viseo does globally, but for some reason in Australia we've only been aligned to the Salesforce ecosystem, so we're changing that. But to me, the challenge is to make that work to start with. I think that's quite exciting. After that, we'll see. Time will tell.
Well, thank you so much. It was great to speak with you.
Yeah, thank you, Arthur. That was great. Thank you.